Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the best 10 brawlers in the meta since the balance changes hit yesterday. There was a lot of nerfs, buffs, and we've got the new brawler Globber. So I'm going to be just going through the best 10 brawlers, trying a different format, seeing if just more concise list is going to be better than top 15. You'll have to let me know, but let's jump into it straight away. So I'm going to be doing no particular order as well, because I'll be doing a tier list in about 3 or 4 days as well to give you guys an incorrect order, but I've got to give it a few days to at least guess the meta here. So at the first brawler is Rico. So Rico was bugged yesterday, then they actually fixed Rico without a maintenance or anything, which was crazy, but he could shoot basically 6 projectiles in 1 ammo instead of 5. Now it's back to 5, but he received a really big buff with his unload speed. I think this one's going to be insanely underrated, guys. I mean, I would, if I was putting in top 10, probably be like at 10 or 9, but I really think people are sleeping on it. How fast the unload speed is. Just think of like Russ, for example. I know he received a projectile speed buff, but people slept on it. I didn't. I was one of the few that called that Russ would be one of the best brawlers inside of the game, and he was literally a couple of weeks later. I'm going to call the same with Rico. I think Rico's unload speed is insane. You can just deal so much damage so quickly. It's crazy. So yeah, give Rico a fair chance. I think he's insane. The next brawler on the top 10 list, Ems. Ems is still one of the best brawlers inside of the game. I think top 2 easily in contention with another brawler, which we'll talk about pretty soon. But Ems received 4 nerfs, and it just still wasn't anywhere near enough to take away from the S tier even. Well, even a top 2 brawlers in the game, she's still right there. It's crazy. So Ems received 4 nerfs. She received a nerf to the amount of invulnerability, well, the amount of seconds she's invulnerable for, and that was to 1 second to 0.5 seconds. The damage of the knockback range, and that acid spray consumes ammo. So I just don't think this was enough for Ems to be like away from the S tier and not broken. They need to either touch her super charge rate, because she cycles through supers so effectively now thanks to her hype Buffy. But not only that, they probably just need to tackle the mechanic of the invulnerability itself. I really dislike invulnerability. You guys have probably heard me go on and on about Ems since her release. But just remember like 8-bit star power. Just remember B's star power. Just remember like Draco Last Stand. Really, well, it's still in the game, but you know what I mean? Very cheesy mechanic, and you've got to be careful, because with this invulnerability, there's a healing of the hype star power as well. She's just still, but the only way to counter Ems is by completely opening up the map, and just like you have to purely pinch her down. Only the map can counter her, because she's just unstoppable. Next brawler still in the top 10 as well, it is Spike. So Spike, I still probably think is going to be an S tier brawler inside of the game, because they didn't really nerf him anywhere near to what I thought they would have. They did a couple of nerfs to the life plan cooldown, which was nice, and then a little bit of damage away from popping pincushion, but I just still think it's far too much for Spike. It still do, so it's gone from 6k instant damage pretty much to 5k instant damage, especially when a brawler's up close to him. He's just going to shred. He can pretty much shred every single brawler inside of the game point blank, and they can't do anything about it. And it's not even with his super or something. You know, normally like brawlers like Shelly or Clancy, they need their super to deal insane damage. No, Spike just needs a click of a green button and a couple of basic attacks, and they're just literally dead in a blink. Like, they can't do anything about it. And they still didn't nerf his hypercharge. His hypercharge is still crazy. Yes, if you really learn it, you can dodge and juke out a lot of the curveballs. But if you just run into their face, you're just, it's just so much damage. It's just brain dead. It's brain rot. Spike is still insane. Next up on the top 10 list, zero surprises here. It is Pierce. So Pierce, I would say personally, is the best brawler inside of the game. I was always advocating him being the best brawler in the game, even with all the broken buffies. Probably he was in and around at least the top 3 still, even with all the broken buffies before this meta. And I think he's the best brawler in the game right now, and that's just thanks to them not really nerfing him for whatever reason. I know that Pierce goes hand in hand with, you know, if you're playing terrible and missing all your shots, then he's just not really doing anything, right? Because you're always out of ammo. But if you start chaining a little bit with your supers, with your attacks, you're just going to 1 versus 3. Literally, that's because he'll have unlimited ammo. It's absolutely insane. Any tank as well, he's going to have the most free matchup. His super, you literally can't miss it, and it deals so much damage through walls. And they only nerfed his gadget cooldown, and it's still by I think like 3 seconds. It's still such a really strong gadget. And yeah, it's just Pierce. He deals insane damage. What else do I even need to say? He's clearly minimum top 2. Top of the list, I went with Meeple. So pretty boring brawler to put onto the top 10, but I just can't fault and think that Meeple is still one of the best brawlers inside of the game, especially with a lot of the buffy brawlers receiving nerfs. Meeple was one of the few brawlers that didn't receive a nerf, and Meeple's hypercharge is still really broken. There are ways to counter Meeple, and he's nowhere near as strong as he used to be in previous metas, but he's just still ultra consistent. You can use Meeple in multiple game modes, in multiple situations, switching between gadgets if you're facing off against assassins, rage quit, other snipers, for example. You want to be using a box one so you can close the gap onto them. And like I said, there's hardly, like, even if Meeple has counters, a lot of the time Meeple can still work around it. You know, for example, the lack of DPS, you're still going to be charging Meeple a lot of supers. The only pure counter to Meeple really is like any type of spawnable, like rough sandbags or something like Charlie spiders, etc. Outside of that, Meeple is still very strong. Next up in the top 10, I went with Globber. So this is going to be a really unpopular opinion because, hear me out. So the way that Globber works, it's really hard to play him with randoms, and if you're playing him in like solo showdown or something, he's a support brawler and he needs help from your teammates. But at the same time, if you lock onto an enemy and if you're using a second gadget which doubles the amount of healing and damage for 2.5 seconds, then you just shred opponents. And if you're like pocket healing someone, so what a pocket healer is, if you've not really played any other games like Overwatch or etc., you're just literally sitting behind like a tanky player or brawler, and you're just staying behind them. Like I said, you use this second gadget and they just don't die. But healing is really strong and really underrated. It's really hard, you know that. So if you're unsure on how strong Globber is, try and face off against a Globber on ladder above 1,000 trophies at least. I know it's not really the highest trophy range, but if you're trying to kill someone whilst they're attached by Globber, it's really hard to kill them. The healing is just insane. His super's good to defend himself as well. I really like his second star power as well, keeping him alive when you're dealing damage to somebody. I think he's super underrated. I think it'll be a little while until people catch on, but I think it's easily top 10. Next up on the top 10 list, I think just in and around the top 10, I think it's going to be Lumi. So this is a big jump up, guys, because she was like D tier in the meta, C tier at maximum. In the previous meta, she just didn't have the range, you know, her unload speed is very slow, but they reverted the unload speed nerf, which they did a couple of updates ago, and I think Lumi is definitely back inside of the meta. So I may be a bit too quick, like I said, but I definitely anticipate her being minimum A tier in my opinion. It's just back to the same old Lumi. She can deal so much damage. Her super is so good at stopping those tankier brawlers. Her gadget is still very broken. I think, again, just go back to the same Lumi. Lumi is either going to be done broken or really bad, but there's no real in between right here. So yeah, I think I'm going to be very early on the predictions for Lumi, but I think she's good. Next up on my top 10 brawler list is Shelly. So before I talk about Shelly, I'm only really putting Shelly here because I watched the recent, there was like a monthly qualifier tournament for a bunch of like pros, and a lot of pros in the MEA went a lot of Shelly. I think Shelly's going to fall off a little bit, but I just had to include her because the pros are going a lot of Shelly. But there's also potential for like Shade. Ali's very, very strong in this meta, definitely near the top 10 or in the top 10. Otis, Crow, these brawlers you guys should know already. And then I put Poco there. Poco seems pretty good, but he's very map dependent. But again, I think he's got a lot of potential. But yeah, I went with Shelly, even though she received a big nerf to Clay Pigeons. You've also got to consider Fast Forward is still a pretty decent gadget. Clay Pigeons is still decent as well. The slow is still a pretty good effect, and she's still one of the few brawlers with a buffy. So I'm probably going to anticipate her being like at the bottom of 80 after this, but like I said, pros are going out a lot, so I've got to include it in the top 10. So in the top 10, we have Mina. So Mina received another nerf, and she's still a top 10 brawler inside of the game. People are just always going to sleep on her. She's a little bit of a harder brawler to make work in comparison to the average brawler, because you got to use your brain cells a bit more, because every single attack, you're dashing forward, right, and trying to get pressure. So the reason why Mina is so good is still the windmill gadget. It got nerfed to, instead of 3 seconds, 2 seconds, but it's just still, reminds me of a few other brawlers where their gadget is just so fundamentally strong. It's forever just going to be like put her at the top of the meta because it's just broken. Like, it just blocks everything, like whole supers, just it's insane gadgets, whatever. You just plop this gadget down and you're safe for a whole 2 seconds, and it completely surrounds you. It's just too good. It is too good. They probably need to nerf the cooldown again to like 24 seconds or even 26 seconds, because I swear this gadget is way too strong. And of course with Mina, the reason why she's so good as well is because you get pressure with every single attack. She does a lot of damage. Her super's still pretty good, but I think most of it's got to come down to the gadget and just her overall pressure on the map. So rounding off the top 10 brawlers inside of a game, I think this is an easy one. We have Frank. So Frank, I think it's easily a top 10 brawler in the game, like I said, because they still didn't really nerf Irresistible of attraction all that much. It's still such a strong pull effect, and it's still got a slow built in as well. It's just insane. The pull effect alone is what makes it really, really strong gadget. And they didn't even nerf the sponge star power, which is a big factor as to why Frank is such a good brawler inside of the game, but such a hard kill. And if you've got like a couple of low DPS brawlers in especially as well, you've got like Globber who's coming to the meta, you've got Poco coming to the meta. Like, you just imagine if a Globber and a Frank in competitive play, we get to see it because Globber's not available in ranked, and they have, like I said, like one low DPS brawler or even two. It's literally over. They won't be able to kill a Frank and a Globber because of his sponge star power. And then you have the hypercharge on top of it, which again didn't receive a nerf, but the 7-second hypercharge is crazy because you can just unwind so much damage, or just literally just run around for 7 seconds just distracting your opponents because you can't die with the sponge star power on top of it. So yeah, I think Frank is an easy top 10. So I think the easier top 10 brawlers, if I was to predict them, would be like Ems, Spike, Pierce, Meeple, Globber, Mina and Frank. And then the other ones, you know, it's up for a little bit of change, and I'm a little bit bold with some of my predictions, like Rico, Lumi. I think Shelly's probably overrated by the pros, like I said, and Globber as well. I think definitely can make a big dent into the meta. So that's gonna be it, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know who you think is gonna be meta now with a bunch of changes. And yeah, like I said, I'll be doing like a rank guide. I'll be doing a meta tier list pretty soon. So yeah, I'm gonna lock in on ranked and get you guys them as soon as possible. So that's gonna be it. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and see you guys next time.